Hey, it's Friday, September 27th, about 5 days before the new moon. Thought I'd give you a view of Cannon Mountain, give you a sense of how well the local fires have now been, if not suppressed, at least died down. We've had some rain. The firefighters have been working valiantly on what is called the Ridge Fire, which is located about 25 or 30 miles west of John Day, near the entrance to the John Day Valley. Thought I'd give folks a little look at the backyard observatory, since we haven't had a look at that recently. Give you a sense of basically what's involved in setting it up. This is a roof try. The roof try has to be articulated out of the way in case it gets some wind. I want to make sure it's secured. And we have an access portal right here. And you can see the Losman DG11 mount with the Skywatcher 150ED OTA. So I'm putting the plastic over the top of it, largely because occasionally insects get inside. In particular, this is an abandoned nest, wasps. Here we have the control switch, the handset for the Gemini 2. I go ahead and just turn on the screen, let that all go. I leave the CCD imager operating. It's better not to subject it to on and off, although it does get kind of warm during the day, I've noticed. This is the second roof try that looks to the south and somewhat towards the west. So basically I get a decent view from the north and east, overhead to about 45 degrees in northern declination. Decent view towards the south for culminating studies, which are what I tend to focus on simply because they're highest above the horizon and have the least atmosphere to look through. And then I can get a view to the south and the west, but not nearly as clearly as I can to the north and to the east. So there you have it. The observatory is now more or less set up. I've had some pretty good success with synchronizing the model mechanically and digitally. One of my next steps is to do a warm restart, followed by a menu and a park, just to make sure that it remembers it's in the counterweight down position. Then what I do is I've noticed there's a drift in the time because it does not have access to a sat signal for time. So what I tend to do is every time a day I come out, I wait for 3 seconds and then reset it. And I had very good results. I have had very good results with that in the past. Another check is to see if the balance is good. The bubble is perfectly straight on in the counterweight down position, and then looked laterally here. So this bubble level is slightly off from the optical tube assembly. And what I'll next do, finally, is go to the park position at the zenith and leave the scope set up there. This verifies all the drive axes are working properly. So you can see I took no more than about 3 to 4 minutes to be able to go ahead and set the scope up and get it ready for an evening of real-time imaging activities. And on this particular night, I am thinking I will do a special called Approaching the 0 Hour. And by the 0 hour, I mean right ascension hour 0. So we'll probably start somewhere around 23 hours and 30 minutes and proceed through the NGC catalog until we get to the very first entry after the 0 hour on the right ascension clock. So there we have it. It's a little after 9:30. You're seeing ENIF synchronized in the center of the TFT display for the Rev 2 system. We are going to explore the last half hour of right ascension that leads up to the 0 hour, where the sidereal year begins again, and the NGC catalog begins with the NGC 1 or thereabouts. We're going to start with NGC 7650, which is a galaxy in Tucanalis. We're not going there because it's minus 57 degrees, 47 minutes and 27 seconds. Right ascension, however, is 23, 25, 21. What I'm going to do is advance to the very first NGC 7651 is a galaxy in Pegasus. That is one we can land on. I have to say there does appear to be some water, ice particles in the atmosphere tonight. We're seeing that on the screen as well. Beginning with NGC 7651, we're about 15, maybe 20 degrees off full culmination. That's why I waited till 9:30 to begin, so studies could be in a reasonable part of the sky. However, we will drop down as low as minus 25 degrees maximum below the celestial equator, and we can ride up to about, let's call it 45 degrees north of the celestial equator, given the position the scope is located right now. NGC 7651 is a galaxy in Pegasus. It's also NGC 7644. Magnitude 15. Smallish, 7 by 0.7 by 0.5 arc-minute size, apparent size, lenticular spiral. And this is a kicker, 562 million light years distant. So this galaxy is about a little bit brighter than the Andromeda galaxy would be at this distance, and a wee bit smaller. It's probably somewhere around 120 to 125,000 light years in diameter, and you get to see it right in the middle of the screen, slightly towards the top. That is our kickoff view for the evening as we approach the 0 hour. We will be skipping about a bit this evening because we do want to get to the NGC 1, cross the 0 hour tonight. This galaxy is NGC 7653, a galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 12.7, pretty much face on 1.6 by 1.5 arc-minutes in size, apparent size. Spiral with a lowercase b, twice removed from lenticular. 192 million light years distant, puts this at about 80,000 light years in actual diameter. We are at right ascension 23, 24, 49, and declination plus 15, 16, 30. We're now on to NGC 7659, a galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 14, 0.8 by 0.3 arc-minutes. Spiral with a lowercase a, 180 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 23 hour 25 minutes 55 seconds. Declination positive 14 degrees 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Galaxy is quite present on the screen despite the modeling due to atmospheric water vapor. Taking a break from galaxies, we proceeded to NGC 7662, a planetary nebula in Andromeda. Very bright, magnitude 8.6 as you can see. Small, 17 by 14 arc seconds. The central star is magnitude 14. The planetary is 6,400 light years distant. We're at 23, 25, 53, right ascension. Declination 42 degrees, 32 minutes and 5 seconds. Sorry about that, folks. We would have to drop down the settings in order to reveal anything of this particular planetary nebula. And we could go right ahead and do so. let's give it a shot. Let's assume we're going to have to be somewhere around 6-inch settings. There we go, we're not overwhelming it. There's more along the lines of the actual size, but we're not revealing any of the texture of the planetary. There we go. Now we're getting something that resembles true nebulosity at basically the 3-inch scope settings. And we're actually seeing roughly the actual really presented 75x size. All right, let's move on. Okay, what we're looking for here is an opportunity to prove that we can actually see really faint NGC galaxies. This is NGC 7663, a galaxy in Aquarius, magnitude 15.9, 0.7 by 0.3 arc minutes. It's 254 million light years distant. The thing you need to be aware of is that we're at declination minus 4 degrees, 57 minutes and 56 seconds, outside the sky's middle third. Right ascension is 23, 26, 45. If I had to venture a guess as to whether the galaxy is present on the screen, it would be right about there. Let's give this one a chance to develop on the screen. It's quite a faint galaxy. I'm hoping I remember the designation. Oh yeah, this is NGC 7674A. It's a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 16.1, but very small, 0.3 by 0.3 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase a, 390 million light years distant. Makes it pretty small, probably about 40,000 light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 23, 27, 59, and then declination of plus 8 degrees, 46 minutes and 58 seconds. There are several galaxies on the screen. If I had to venture a guess, things have been lining up right about there. So that should be a 16.1 magnitude galaxy, despite the fact of presence of atmospheric water, but it is it's in the sky's middle third, so it gives us a good opportunity. There are probably several galaxies there. This one would warrant a look at the skylive.com at the digitized sky survey images from the 1950s. NGC 7678 is a galaxy in Pegasus, brightish, magnitude 11.8. About the right size for that magnitude, 2.5 by 1.7 arc minutes. It's a spiral with a bar and lowercase c, so 3 times removed from the lenticular. 160 million light years distant. Right ascension 23, 28, 27, and declination plus 22 degrees, 25 minutes and 15 seconds. Well positioned in the sky with a nice sense of some galactic features beyond the bright central core. You might want to spend a little time looking at this one, NGC 7691, galaxy in Pegasus. It's magnitude 12.9, 2.1 by 1.6 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, but the interesting feature, it has a ring, which means it should have a well-defined rim to it. We're at right ascension finally broken 23 hours and 30 minutes, 23, 32, 24, with a declination of plus 15 degrees, 50 minutes, and 51 seconds. Look for that reasonably well-defined border to this football-presented spiral galaxy. All right, keep an eye on this one. It should have a really nice aspect ratio. NGC 7703 is a galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.4, 2.2 by 0.5 arc minutes. So a 4 to 1 pretty much edge-on spiral galaxy of the lenticular class, 182 million light years distant. So it's probably a little over 100,000 light years in diameter. Excuse me. We're at right ascension 233446, declination 160431. Pretty easy to pick out on the screen, but I'm not really getting a good sense of the edge-on appearance from my point of view. NGC 7711 is a galaxy in Pegasus, brightish, magnitude 12.1, 2.6 by 1.3, 2-to-1 aspect ratio, oblately presented lenticular spiral, 184 million light years distant, puts this one about 125,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 233539, declination plus 15 degrees, 18 minutes and 4 seconds. Our next study is NGC 7721. Magnitude 11.6 galaxy with a 3.1 by 1.2 arc minute size, so 2.5 to 1. Spiral with a lowercase c, so 3 times removed from the lenticular. Fairly immature galaxy with lots of cold dark matter yet to be condensed into stars. 91 million light years distant. Right ascension is 233848. Declination is -6 degrees, 31 minutes and 5 seconds. Gives a rather large but somewhat diaphanous view on the screen. Here we have another large but less ghostly presence. NGC 7723, galaxy in Aquarius. Brightish, magnitude 11.2, 3.5 by 2.2 arc minutes in apparent size. Spiral with a bar and a lowercase b, twice removed from lenticular. 84 million light years distant. Puts this at probably somewhere around 80 to 90,000 light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 233856, declination -12 degrees, 57 minutes and 39 seconds. Here we have NGC 7727, a galaxy in Aquarius. Brightest of the evening, magnitude 10.6, but very large, 4.7 by 4.1 arc minutes. All we're really seeing is the core region with some extensions around for the spiral arms. It's a spiral with a bar and a lowercase a, but it has some peculiarities to it. And typically peculiarities mean something in the shape and texture of a galaxy is suggestive that it has recently had a burst of massive star formation or has ingested another smaller galaxy which is causing a gravitational disturbance. NGC 7727 is 79 million light years distant, has a right ascension of 23 hours, 39 minutes, 53 seconds, declination -12, 17, 35. I've selected NGC 7740 because it's well placed in the sky and quite faint. It's a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 15.6, 0.8 by 0.5 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, and I can see it right in the middle of the screen there. 347 million light years distant. Right ascension 234332 and declination 271846. Given its appearance, I can see that we probably would be able to image, if this is truly the visual magnitude and not the blue-violet, because if it's the blue-violet, it's more likely to be something around 14.8 magnitude. But assuming what we're seeing up there is the visual green-yellow spectral magnitude, I can easily see us being able to image galaxies overhead in the sky's middle third down to magnitude 16.5 tonight. Yahoo! Here we should be seeing a fairly large bright galaxy, NGC 7741 in Pegasus. Magnitude 11.3, 4.5 by 2.9 arc minutes. Spiral with a bar, lowercase c, a mere 39 million light years distant. Oh yeah, I do see the galaxy. And we're at right ascension 23, 43, 54, declination plus 26 degrees, 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Kind of a diaphanous view for an 11.3 magnitude galaxy. Skipped over several brightish galaxies to go to NGC 7753, which is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12, 2.9 by 1.9 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, the lowercase bc, 234 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 234704, declination 29 degrees, 28 minutes and 59 seconds to the north. So well placed in the sky, 12th magnitude galaxy. And there's our look. Here we have a rather nicely presented NGC 7771, Galaxy of Pegasus, magnitude 12.3, 2.4 by 1.1 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, which gives it that more of that edge-on appearance. Lowercase a, 191 million light years distant, puts this at about 100,000 plus light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 235124, declination plus 20 degrees, 6 minutes and 43 seconds. We are now seriously approaching the 0 hour of right ascension. Taking a break from galaxies, we'll have a look at open cluster NGC 7772 in Pegasus, 2 arc minutes in size. It's a class 3-1, which I believe means the class 3, they're fairly disparately spread apart, and magnitudes are very similar, which could be reversed. I'm going to have to look into that. I did a little research on that last time, and I couldn't come up with what that approach to classifying open clusters was again. Because this one looks like the cluster is fairly condensed, but the magnitudes are fairly disparate, so I could have it backwards. We're at right ascension 23 hour 51 minutes 45 seconds, declination of plus 16 degrees 14 and 54 seconds. NGC 7782 looks a little irregular. Magnitude 12.2, 2.2 by 1.3 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b. This galaxy is located in Pisces, 242 million light years distant. Right ascension 235353 and declination 7 degrees 58 minutes and 14 seconds. NGC 7785 is another galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 11.6, kind of small apparent size, 2 by 1.3 elliptical, 172 million light years distant, putting this at probably around 100,000 light years in diameter. Right ascension 235519, declination plus 5 degrees, 54 minutes and 55 seconds. Really didn't want to go this far south again, but I could not ignore it. NGC 7793, for those more southerly inclined observers, is a galaxy in SCL. It's not... Anyway, it's very bright, magnitude 9.1 and large, 9.6 by 6.4 arc minutes, spiral of the class C with some disturbances in it. It's 11.4 million light years distant. This one's probably right on the border of the local group of galaxies, so I thought I would include it in just for listing tonight. Right ascension 235749, declination minus 32 degrees, 35 minutes and 27 seconds. Well, let's see if we can watch this one develop on the screen, the best way to detect the faintest of galaxies. This is NGC 7799, Galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 16.4, and relatively large for that magnitude. 0.8 by 0.3 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase c, 221 million light years distant. Right ascension 23:59:20, declination plus 31 degrees, 17 minutes and 7 seconds. Hopefully we will be able to see this on the screen. This magnitude 16.4 is about as faint as you get in the NGC catalog. And I think the Earl of Rosse probably discovered some of these faint ones. He had a very large scope, unwieldy as hell back in the 1800s when J.L.E. Dreyer was compiling it. And William Herschel, or his son, let's see, probably not William, but his son, actually William, also had a large 48-inch or so scope, speculum mirror, which was good, equivalent roughly of a 36-inch scope today, and it should have been able to see galaxies down to this magnitude without the benefit of real-time imaging. Okay, we just entered into NGC 7800 series. For a nice look at a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12.6, 2.3 by 1.6 arc minute sized irregular galaxy that looks extremely edge-on for that size and apparent shape. 77 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 23:59:36, declination 14:48:25, and the northerly direction. Getting a nice edgy-on view from this NGC 7800. Very well then, we have just now entered the first valid entry in the NGC catalog that is located on near the 0 hour. This is NGC 7802, a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.5, 1.1 by 0.6 arc minutes. It's a lenticular spiral 239 million light years distant. We are at right ascension 0 hours, 1 minute, and 0 seconds, with a declination of plus 6 degrees, 14 minutes, and 31. Now, we have accomplished the task of the evening, which was to explore studies, adventitious studies, nothing really mapped out, that led up to the 0 hour. And the 0 hour basically for me represents the sky year transiting from the previous year to the new year. So we are looking at the sidereal new year, first study that's actually visible. As I said, the previous one was fictitious. Now, one thing I'm wondering is, can we see Messier 31 at this point? Or will it be blocked by the roof tree to the north and the east? Let's give it a shot. Well, we are getting a clear and present view of the core of Messier 31, Great Andromeda Galaxy. Unfortunately, at 75x, we can't get much more than 20 arc minutes of it into the field of view. The Great Andromeda Galaxy is magnitude 3.4, 189 by 61 arc minutes, which means, thankfully, we're centered up perfectly on it, but we're getting less than maybe 15% of the galaxy actually in the screen. It is located 3 million light years distant. I think it's more like 2.5. And it's at right ascension 42 minutes and 44 seconds with a declination of 41:16:06. Now, the thing to look for here are dark lanes where intervening cold dark matter is blocking the views. The core is quite brilliant. Core extensions are quite nice. It's really not saying what class, unfortunately, a galaxy it is, obviously it's a spiral. I don't think it's particularly close to the lenticular class, maybe 1.5 times removed, maybe an AB. But there is our view. Now, of course, wouldn't we want to also make a tour of its 2 satellite neighbors? I'm just going to go and make the leap to them. Punch in Messier 32, enter, and go there. Let's watch it. Galaxy switches off the center of the field, and there is Messier 32. What would be considered an elliptical galaxy, except it's really quite small, about I believe it's 8,000 light years in diameter, compared to Messier 31's 145 to 150. So there is our view of Messier 32, and why not punch in Messier 110? Messier 110 is interesting because it was the last addition to the Messier catalog, and I do believe it was found as a note in a reference without actually being manually entered by Charles Messier himself. Here we go, the leap. A bit more of a leap than going to 110. Than going to 32. Now this is kind of an acid test of the seeing. If you get a nice, bright, extended view of Messier 110, you're having a pretty good night of seeing. Without getting any aperture block, galaxy is formulating the core of the galaxy and extended around the core, which is actually kind of an even blend. There's nothing particularly stark about 110 the way it is with Messier 32, because 110 is more of an elliptical galaxy. So, giving it a few more seconds, I'll give you some data, and then we are going to Carpe Noctem out. Looks like there's a fairly decent extension. Messier 110, galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 8.1, 19.5 by 11.5 arc minutes. The entire galaxy, if we could image it all, will fit in this 20 by 15 arc minute screen. 3 million light years distant, we're at right ascension, 40 minutes and 22 seconds with a declination of 41 degrees, 41 minutes and 5 seconds. And with that, I bid you Carpe Noctem.